In the state of Odisha in eastern India is a mega kitchen so enormous it's cooking up not just a few hundred, but over 50,000 meals a day. In doing so, it's contributing to the education of some of India's poorest children, empowering them to aspire for sporting glory and academic success.
I have been always searching to do something for the poor children.
It's a kitchen that helps make school feel like home away from home.
That is, in batches of 8,000, 3 to 4 batches, we complete the 25,000 meals.
Situated at the intersection of food and education, this is the mega kitchen of the Kalinga Institute of Social Sciences. It's a fresh and sunny day in Bhubaneswar, the state capital of Odisha in eastern India. A large but orderly crowd gathers outside the gates. The crowd is filled with little children, chaperoned by parents and young adults, many of whom have traveled from their village to the big city to attend the first day of school after vacations at the Kalinga Institute of Social Sciences. Inside the gates, children and parents fall into lines. Those who are returning from last year are familiar with the check-in ritual. Each bag is individually checked by practiced hands. And any item that could pose a threat to health and security is immediately isolated. It's hard on the parents who are leaving their children behind. But it's a necessary precaution.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner, ତେଣୁକି ଏସବୁ ଜିନିଷ ଆମେ ତାଙ୍କ ବାପା ମାଙ୍କ ହାତରେ ଫେରେଇ ଦେଉ କିଛି ରଖୁ ହେଲା ଆପଣ ବାପା ମା ଯିଏ ଆସିଛନ୍ତି ଖାଇବେ ନେଇଯାଆନ୍ତୁ ବୁଝିପାରିଲୁ ଝିଅ
In another line, children pass a quick checklist to rule out any infections or medical conditions they may have picked up on vacation. The rules are strict and the staff is thorough, because for the next 10 to 11 months, this will be home away from home for each child enrolled at the largest tribal residential school in the world. Sprawling out across a massive 80 acres, the Kalinga Institute of Social Sciences is unlike any other campus in the country, with a student body that stands at over 25,000 children and growing. Amongst them are potential Olympians, national-level sports champions, budding doctors, lawyers, artists, and achievers. They come from some of the poorest and most socially disadvantaged tribal communities of India, with aspirations to break the cycle of poverty. Which is why the school takes it upon itself to prepare meals not just from any ordinary kitchen, but from a mega kitchen. Operating 7 days a week, making over 50,000 fresh meals a day, enough to feed the equivalent of the entire Indian Navy. 6 a.m. on the first day of school. It all begins with breakfast, the most important meal of the day. Most of these children have been up since 5 a.m. and they have a long day ahead, which will only end at 10 in the night. It's here that one gets a sense of the mammoth challenge of caring for 25,000 students, which besides breakfast includes preparing 2 cooked meals a day, plus snacks and supplements. A strict service strategy is essential. Children are served in batches at 3 to 4 separate locations on the campus.
हमारा मेनू के हिसाब से फिक्स है। जैसे हमारा वीक डेज होता है, जैसे मंडे को हम लोग का है चूड़ा विथ मिल्क, आज ट्यूसडे है, आज कॉर्नफ्लेक्स और मिल्क है, कल वेडनेसडे है, चूड़ा के साथ हम लोग बनाना देते हैं। ऐसे सारा हमारा वीक डेज का मेनू होता है।
Breakfast is quick and easy, and it's served right outside the children's hostel rooms. Today, it's milk and cornflakes that may look basic, but it's good for nutrition.
अभी मैं कॉर्नफ्लेक्स खा रही हूँ और मुझे बहुत पसंद है और इससे मुझे बहुत ताकत और स्टैमिना और बहुत प्रोटीन मिलता है।
Nearly 1,000 kilos of cornflakes and 5,000 liters of milk are consumed in a single breakfast. That's enough cornflakes to feed a family of 4 for nearly 20 years.
हर बाउल में 40 ग्राम कॉर्नफ्लेक्स, 200 ml मिल्क देते हैं।
Amongst those eating is Muna Murmu, a senior at the Kalinga Institute and one of the school's top sporting heroes.
अभी हम लोग जो कर रहे हैं ये कॉर्नफ्लेक्स दूध के साथ, इसके बाद हम लोग प्रैक्टिस जाते हैं। तो ये दूध और कॉर्नफ्लेक्स खाने से हम लोग को थोड़ा एनर्जी मिलता है, थोड़ा सा स्लाइड करते हैं और प्रैक्टिस के लिए थोड़ा एनर्जी मिलता है और जाते हैं फिर प्रैक्टिस करते हैं। 3, 4, 5, okay, one leg, one for the floor, and the leg.
On the field, Muna's rugby skills have made him a valued player, not just on the Kalinga Institute team, but on the national team representing India.
Yes. Front, back, front.
Rugby is a game of strength and focus, and Muna shines amongst his teammates.
Bind. Set. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2.
As he powers across the field, it doesn't look like this young man hails from one of the most nutritionally deprived communities of India. This tribal hamlet in Korda district of Odisha is what Muna calls home. His family ekes out a basic living from tending to their small rice farm. Meals depend on what's growing in and around their homestead. Muna's mother gathers leaves from a nearby shrub and cooks them. Along with a small bowl of rice that's been soaked in water overnight. Muna is privileged to go to a big city school and represent Team India in rugby.
सिलेक्शन हुआ जबकि इसमें मेरे को अंडर 19 में, तो मेरे को मौका मिला कि फ्रांस जाने के लिए। मैं भी बहुत खुश हुआ क्योंकि मेरा फर्स्ट टाइम था बाहर जाने के लिए। 2010 से मैंने सीनियर में एंट्री किया, तो अभी मैं सीनियर में खेल रहा हूँ।
Muna's time in Kalinga Institute has helped him not just improve his game and hone his skills, it's also helped boost his physical strength. He's just one of the thousands who are fed nutritionally rich food, prepared fresh every day by the mega kitchens of Kalinga Institute. It's a mass production kitchen with a capacity to make 10,000 meals in one batch. Since the requirement is more than double that number, the cook is divided into several batches. The first 10,000 meals are meant for primary school children, and the next 10,000 for higher secondary students. These 2 batches alone are enough to feed the passengers of nearly 80 Boeing 787 Dreamliners. But the kitchen prepares even more. there's 5,000 more meals to cook for the undergraduate and postgraduate students. It's a staggering amount of food that must all be prepared by 12. That gives the kitchen just under 3 hours to complete the cook. Mr. Ishwar is the man in charge of operations. As school enrollment has grown in numbers over the years, so has the kitchen.
Preparation style used to be normal, traditional. Only instead of we at home using smaller dishes, they were using giant dishes to cook the things. Then we thought of, and it was preparing the meal, the size of about 14,000 people. It was something around taking 6.5 to 7 hours. Still, at times, it was being delayed.
The main kitchen area is laid out to facilitate steam cooking, with 8 vessels of 680 liters each to cook vegetables and lentils, and 20 vessels of 380 liters each to boil rice. There are 4 boilers fueled by diesel and LPG, which generates steam that comes in through dedicated pipelines. Adjoining the kitchen is a massive dining hall, which also doubles up as an assembly hall. The prep begins with a thorough washing of rice and soaked lentils. Like every day, today too, there's a lot of grains to go through. Like over 4,000 kilos of rice. That's enough to feed an average rural Indian for over 50 years. Besides rice, the day's menu contains a lentil-rich curry called dalma. Dalma is a typical dish of the region, made from boiling pre-soaked lentils and vegetables. It's not only protein-rich, but also rich in vitamins and minerals, depending on the vegetable of the day. Above all, dalma is traditional food that's comfort for thousands of children living far from their families.
That is single bond hydrogen or contributing.
Muna's formative years have been spent at the Kalinga Institute, and this classroom is his bridge to a better future. Today, he's conversant in languages like Oriya, Hindi, and English. But that's not how he was when he first joined. He was like thousands of children who join each year, knowing no other language than that spoken in one of the 62-odd tribes across Odisha. In the language lab, the school's youngest students are learning through play. This initial preparation is key to helping children integrate with state and central education board curriculum and join the mainstream. So that by the time these children get to Mandakini Maji's age, they are no longer struggling with the mode of instruction. Maji has seamlessly integrated into the Kalinga Institute ethos, be it in the classroom or joining her schoolmates to volunteer in the mega kitchen. A weekly roster of duties is drawn up for all the senior students of the Kalinga Institute. And on any given day, nearly 250 are assigned various duties, including vegetable cutting.
सब स्टूडेंट हर एक कामों में इन्वॉल्व रहते हैं। हमारे जो 25,000 बच्चे हैं जो उन लोगों के लिए सब्जी काटेंगे और वो किचन में वो रसोई करेंगे और देंगे। इसलिए यहाँ पे वो सब चीज़ जो कि हमें घर में रहने से जो सीखना चाहिए था वो हमें यहाँ सीखने के लिए मौका मिलता है।
100 to 130 girls have already been pre-assigned between the class 9 and post-graduation for morning shift, evening shift for 7 days a week.
On days like today, nearly 2,400 kilos of vegetables need to be chopped, grated, and quartered to add to the meal.
We call it dignity of labor. Nobody has more than 45 minutes to 50 minutes of duty.
On the field, Mandakini is one of the Kalinga Institute's top sportswomen, who is on the India national Kho-Kho team. Off the field, she is part of the volunteer group that transforms the lunch prep into a community affair. Each lot of vegetables cut is then taken away to clean thoroughly before it's all added to the main curry. In the main kitchen area, cooks are putting together a mix of spices that will make the masala of the dalma stew. Experienced hands dole out exact quantities of different spices. A little too less, and the meal will be too bland to appeal to young taste buds. A little too much, and the meal will be unpalatable, especially to the smallest children.
The ingredient proportions, etc., it is fairly standardized. We have got SOPs for every item which you are preparing. So where the ratios are prefixed. So keeping that, so the taste is also taken care of, and also the nutritional value.
In the steam cooking section, the crew is already setting the massive vessels to boil. Today's dalma will contain approximately 2,500 kilos of pulse grains and 2,400 kilos of vegetables like pumpkin.
In the small vessels, we put about 100 kilograms of rice. It is ready in 7 to 8 minutes. Similarly, in the larger vessels, we are putting roughly about 150 kilograms of lentil with vegetables, another 200 kilograms. It is ready in almost 17 to 19 minutes, depending on the type of vegetables we are putting.
By mid-morning, the cook has progressed rapidly, and the finish line is in plain sight.
अभी तक 2500 किलो की राइस बन गई है. जहाँ तक डालमा की बात है, 38 क्विंटल बन चुकी है और अबाउट 7 क्विंटल दैट इज 700 किलोस बनने के बाकी है. 11-15 तक ये बन जाएगी. तो ऐसे 12 बजे खाना शुरू होती है. So कोई प्रॉब्लम, देयर विल बी नो डिले.
It's a good thing the kitchen is on track, because outside the dining hall, thousands of children are already lining up. Student volunteers, too, are at their stations. It's their job to ferry trolleys of cooked food, which will be poured into smaller pails for distribution inside the dining hall, which at more than 24,000 square feet could fit a small colony of more than 25 two-bedroom houses in one space. But even this much space is not enough to accommodate over 25,000 children.
Half of it is for seating the boys and half of it for seating the girls. That is in batches of 8,000, 3 to 4 batches, we complete the 25,000 meals. It takes about 1 hour 40 minutes to 2 hours to complete the whole process.
At 12 p.m., it's time to begin. As children stream in, they're divided into groups. Boys head to one end of the hall, girls to another. Over the next 2 hours, children from classes 1 straight through to postgraduate level will all sit down for lunch. In this microcosm, nearly 62 indigenous tribes of Odisha find representation, making the Kalinga Institute meal service not just mega in scale, but strong scaffolding to build the future generation. Even though lunch has begun, it doesn't mean work has stopped in the kitchen. Joining the cooks is founder of the Kalinga Institute, Dr. Achyuta Samanta, who started the school nearly 25 years ago.
I was born and brought up in the midst of severe poverty in one remote village of Odisha, and I can describe the hunger, poverty. We are so poor, we are not getting even 1 square meal in 2 days. So because of that pain in my stomach, I have been always searching to do something for the poor children.
Dr. Samantha started Kalinga Institute in 1993. With just 125 students belonging to below poverty line families of indigenous tribes. The kitchen's nutritious food was one of the draws that attracted children like Mandakini and Muna to the school.
घर में तो इतना अच्छा खाना नहीं मिल रहा था और जब किस में गया तो किस से मेरे को अच्छा खाना मिला ब्रेकफास्ट से लेकर पूरा लंच तक डिनर तक क्योंकि घर का राइस तो वाटर राइस खाते थे बस वाटर राइस हर टाइम घर में तो कभी कभी खाते थे और कोई दिन तो ऐसे ही तो दिन में तो भूख में रह जाता है रात को खाते थे
Like breakfast, lunch is a simple meal with just 2 items. But constructing a simple menu that's also nutritious is a job that requires qualified nutritionists. Because in such a huge student body, there are vastly different food needs that have to be considered. For example, there might be newly admitted children who have medical conditions related to malnutrition.
हेल्थ पैरामीटर हम देखते हैं वो बच्चे एनीमिक है कि नहीं रक्तहीनता जो इसको बोलते हैं एनीमिक है कि नहीं अभी कोई स्किन डिजीज है या पहले उसके गांव में जो कुछ डिजीज है उसको मालूम है लेकिन वो ट्रीटमेंट नहीं किया है उनको हम पूछते हैं अगर वो बोलते हैं उसी के हिसाब से हम लोग यहाँ भी उसको ट्रीटमेंट देते हैं
Then there are the majority of students whose economic disadvantages have led to poor eating habits, which in turn has affected their overall physical and mental development.
That area becomes a malnutrition area where the students never get a square meal day. They go to the jungle, they collect the jungle fruits they eat. And we have seen these boys, they never grow.
Often, meal supplements like eggs and extra milk are provided for such children, especially the littlest ones, who are in the middle of their crucial growth spurts. At the other end of the dietary spectrum are Kalinga Institute's sports persons, whose highly physical routine demands a diet that's rich in protein and carbohydrates.
Here we are calculating their nutritional assessment, basically carbohydrate, proteins and fats and carbohydrates, and also minerals. Our students are very good in sports, so we are focusing the protein value for there. And 3 times in a week we are using non-veg, Wednesday, Friday and Sunday.
The menu includes non-vegetarian foods like chicken and fish, served at least twice a week. 2,400 kilos of chicken and fish every week, and about 75,000 eggs a month. Service continues non-stop as row upon row gets filled up, served and vacated. Children who have finished eating file back out with their plates and make their way to the taps. Each child is in charge of their designated utensils, and it's their job to scrub them well. In what perhaps might be the simplest mega dishwashing system anywhere. Lunch finished, students make their way back to the main school building. Because even though academic classes are over, the school day for them and the kitchen has a long way to go. A massive lunch service feeding over 25,000 has just wrapped up at the Kalinga Institute of Social Sciences. Students who are done with their regular classes now branch out into different directions. For some years now, post-lunch has found Ranjit Nayak on the sports field. A strapping young man, Nayak is generating quite a buzz on the Indian archery circuit. But Ranjit's ambitions go even further than national championships.
अभी रियो ओलंपिक के लिए मैं टॉप फॉर्म में था, सिलेक्ट तो नहीं हो पाया, लेकिन अभी मेरा सपना है कि 2020 ओलंपिक में मैं पार्टिसिपेट करके गोल्ड मेडल लेके आऊँगा।
एक ही रिदम में उसको आगे पीछे नहीं, जैसा टेंशन है उसको एक ही रिदम में कंप्लीट करो स्मूथली।
In 2016, Nayak came within a whisker of qualifying for the Rio Olympics. This has only fanned his Olympian ambitions even more. And not just his, but his entire school's.
ओलंपिक जाऊला रहीगला बाटरे ट्रेन पुणी 2020 रे ओलंपिक जीव जदि तेल फेल पकई सफासफी करके इंजिन को रखि ता माने कौन जदि प्रैक्टिस रखि 2020 रे रणजीत नायक ओलंपिक जीव दुती चांद परीक्षा मेडल लेके आसीबो।
Almost all of these students come from highly impoverished families who are part of Odisha's indigenous tribes, 13 of which are in the particularly vulnerable category. School offers them free education and also free meals. Dr. P.K. Das is quality in charge for the Mega Kitchen. And today he's on one of his routine checks, along with nutritionists. There's a lot on the line at every single meal, with thousands of children eating from the same batch of food. Even a small slip can have big consequences. So it's not enough to just have regular checks for food, but also for drinking water.
For 25,000 students, we need water. And that water we generate here in the RO plants. And 50,000 drinking water gives to the student and other 50,000 for cooking. And we see that all possible measures has been taken for their drinking and also for cooking.
The RO plant is a facility to purify water using the principle of reverse osmosis. The plant produces enough clean water in a day to meet the needs of an average urban Indian for well over a year and a half. Meeting the needs of an ever-growing student population has been an ongoing challenge for the kitchen. In 1993, there were only 125 students. By 2010, the number had skyrocketed to approximately 12,000. At the time, the kitchen still practiced conventional methods of cooking in large vessels over LPG, or liquefied petroleum gas-fueled stoves. But this system was tiresome as it took up to 6 to 7 hours to complete a single meal preparation.
While looking for alternatives, we came across that steam cooking is the best, which is already being used for several big kitchens in the country, like Balaji Tirupati, like Vaishnavi Devi, like Sri Reddy.
The entire floor plan was renovated to install steam cooking pipelines. This network weaves a web around the kitchen, reaching individual vessels to pump in steam. The pipes ensure there's no loss of heat. and everything cooks at nearly 3 times the speed it did before. The entire steam network depends on 4 boilers fueled by LPG and diesel. In fact, every year the kitchen uses enough diesel to make nearly 3 trips to the moon and back. That's a huge amount of fossil fuels to burn. In recent years, the school has made an effort to reduce its carbon footprint.
As much as possible, nature friendly. It should be nature friendly. That's why we have made entire KISS completely green campus.
The Kalinga Institute is designated an official to manage all green projects. Subendu Panda oversees initiatives like waste management and renewable energy systems.
किस में सोलर एनर्जी को हम लोग बहुत जगह में यूज करते हैं और ये जो सिस्टम है उसमें गर्म पानी बनता है सोलर एनर्जी से. इसको सोलर हीटिंग वाटर हीटिंग सिस्टम बोलते हैं और इसका कैपेसिटी है 10,000 लीटर्स पर डे. जिस गर्म पानी हम लोग सीधा किचन में भेजते हैं और वहाँ लंच और डिनर के लिए उसी गर्म पानी यूज होता है, जिसमें से हमारा एलपीजी कंजप्शन कम हो जाता है.
In the 24,000 square foot dining hall too, all the light and fan fixtures run on solar power.
जिन पे से पानी पंप चलता है, फैन चलता है, लाइट जलता है और बॉयलर का जितना ऑक्सिलरी इक्विपमेंट्स उसी से पावर इनको मिलता है. कि इसमें हमेशा रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी को यूज करना और उसी के वजह से कोई भी दूसरा एनर्जी कंजप्शन कम करना, ये एक ट्रेडिशनल प्रैक्टिस है.
Being clean and green isn't just about making a commitment to the environment. Often it's the most efficient operational tool when it comes to a school with 25,000 students. Case in point, waste management. All the organic waste generated in the kitchen and post-meal times is diverted to a dedicated biogas plant on the campus.
Total capacity of this plant is 1,000 kg per day. The organic waste is shredded and it is converted to slurry and fed to the biodigester.
The digester is like a massive metallic stomach where organic material collects to be broken down. Water is added to the waste and it all forms a slurry. Certain types of bacteria are introduced into the mix. They ferment it all down to make biogas, which is 50 to 80% methane. Every day, nearly 75 cubic meters of biogas is sent to the kitchen. And that's not the only thing growing from strength to strength on the campus. Judo class is in full swing. Young Sangeeta belies her slight frame and performs masterful moves on the mat. Without the Kalinga Institute, it's unlikely that she'd have had a shot at a proper education. As many girls like her are married off in their teenage years. But at this school, parents are often willing to forego custom, since their children won't just receive schooling, but 3 full meals a day. Today, approximately 60% of the student body comprises of girls.
Initially, it was too difficult. We had convinced their parents in many ways. Slowly, their parents could get information. They are convinced. That means, even if they are illiterate, live with superstition, they also want their children should be imparted quality education.
Every day, the school aims to live up to the promise made to each child's family. But when creating this home away from home involves mega numbers, it means not just cooking on a massive scale, but also planning. The Kalinga Institute of Social Sciences caters to Odisha's indigenous tribal communities, many too poor to eat the variety of produce that's coming into the kitchens today. Vans filled with huge quantities of fresh vegetables have just entered the campus of the Kalinga Institute of Social Sciences. Sacks full of seasonal vegetables are offloaded and weighed by the kitchen staff.
57.
On average days like these, nearly 1,800 kilos of fresh vegetables are sent in from local growers in Bhubaneswar and Cuttack.
Vegetables, etc., we procure from the growers. There is a growers market where they come in the mornings and sell it. We directly procure from the growers. So that's where the middlemen are eliminated to middlemen, so we get the best prices.
46.
Perishable vegetables are put into cold storage until cooking time approaches, where over 25,000 meals will be prepared in the span of less than 3 hours. The staple of nearly every meal at Kalinga Institute is rice, and the kitchen consumes thousands of kilos in a single day. So its purchase looks less like a visit to the grocery store and more like a board meeting. Rice is brought in once a week. A single consignment can be as much as 500 quintals, or 50,000 kilos. Like with the vegetables, these batches undergo a weight check. They also go through a physical audit to pass muster.
क्वालिटी हम तो देखते हैं कि जैसे उनको ऑर्डर दिया गया है वो सैंपल के हिसाब से है या नहीं है, और है फिर हम देखते हैं कि हाँ ये सूटेबल है या नहीं है, अदरवाइज उसको हम रिजेक्ट कर देते हैं, रिटर्न कर देते हैं.
Auditing all these ingredients isn't a luxury. It's a must in a school where children as little as 6 years join the rolls. That's how old Meninder was when he first walked through the doors.
मैं पहली बार 2011 से फर्स्ट क्लास में ज्वाइन किया था. पहले मैं जब आया तो मुझे पहले थोड़ा दुख लगा क्योंकि मैं मेरा पेरेंट्स को बहुत ही दूरी छोड़ के आया. अब मुझको बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है.
But it wasn't long before Meninder settled in. Today, he's a bright 11-year-old with a mathematical bent of mind that has made him a gifted chess player.
मैथ मुझे बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है क्योंकि चेस खेलेंगे तो मैथ अच्छा हो गया. मैं एक चेस मास्टर होना चाहता हूँ.
While other sports people need meals to bolster them physically, Meninder requires a diet that supports his intellectual prowess. Kalinga Institute's mega kitchen gives him a balanced meal.
से सब खाଇବା ମଧ୍ୟରେ ମୋତେ ଭାତ ଓ ଡାଲି ବହୁତ ଭଲ ଲାଗେ କାରଣ ଡାଲିରେ ବିଭିନ୍ନ ପ୍ରକାର ପନିପରିବା ମିଳିଥାଏ. ସେଥିରେ ବହୁତ ପ୍ରକାର ଭିଟାମିନ୍ ବି ମିଳିଥାଏ.
For growing children like him, though, it's not enough to just have 3 meals. Supplementary foods are equally important.
Just to supplement their nutritious food. Apple at the time of apple season, orange at the time of orange season, lychee at the time of lychee season, and also amrut.
Recently, the Kalinga Institute was conferred with special consultative status by the United Nations. International recognition aside, the Kalinga Institute's numbers speak for themselves. Not only does it have massive enrollment, its dropout rate too is almost nil.
When they go back to their home once a year, 2 months at a stretch, but everybody comes back. Here dropout is almost zero.
One of the big draws is the food. In the kitchens, another mega meal is being prepared, this time for dinner. Unlike lunch, dinner is usually purely vegetarian, and quantities tend to be lesser than the volumes prepared in the day.
The consumption is 4,200 kilograms of rice in the morning. In the nights it is slightly less, 4,000 kilograms. Add to that, about morning we have about 24 to 2600 kilograms of lintel, that is arhar dal or 2 dal, right? And in the nights it is about 2,000 kilograms. Add to that, about morning about 1600 kilos of potatoes, and in night also 1600 kilograms of potatoes, and vegetables around 23 to 24 quintal, or you call it 2,300 kilograms or 2,400 kilograms of vegetable, both types.
Between 3 and 7 p.m., this kitchen will be abuzz with the final meal preparation of the day. As evening falls on the Kalinga Institute campus, dinner service begins, drawing the immense community together once again. Volunteers take to their stations, doling out pailfuls of rice and curry. The children have had a long day that for many started at 5 a.m. Children who are now out of their uniforms appear relaxed. For Muna, it's been a long day that's finally winding down.
आज का दिन तो अच्छा ही था और हम लोग प्रैक्टिस किया, अच्छा किया और कॉलेज भी गया था और कॉलेज के बाद हम लोग 3 बजे आया, फिर प्रैक्टिस किया, इधर से आके प्रेस करके अभी आया 8 बजे.
Muna joins his schoolmates in this massive crowd of diners. As they fill up on a wholesome meal, there's no telling what tomorrow might bring for these children. The heights they may reach, the leaders they may become, and the dreams they may transform into reality.